Welcome to Arts Talk TV. We're putting a spotlight on creativity. Hi, I'm Karina Lawrence and welcome to Arts Talk TV. We're here at Social Hideout in Waterloo, Sydney. It's a stunning cafe that caters with specially designed meals that are beautifully presented in a gorgeous environment where they provide for social events and are certainly a popular trend for visitors that want to showcase on social media. Next up on the show, I am so grateful to introduce you to a beautiful artist. She started out as a dancer, singer, model, and a TV presenter, and then transitioned into the world of style as a content producer. Please welcome to the show, the beautiful Louise Edmonds.
Oh,
hi.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us. We are so excited to have you on.
Pleasure.
You started out in dance class,
Yeah.
extensively as a child in modelling, presenting as well as a singer. What led you to dance ultimately?
We grew up in a small flat on the Gold Coast, and my mum's very eclectic, so we had peacock feathers and we had velvet wallpaper,
Wow.
big velvet divans with studs in them. It's just naturally her DNA is to be creative like that with a lot of flair. We'd have this stereogram. Do you remember that with records and 45?
Yeah.
She'd put on Michael Jackson Off the Wall and I'd just be dancing out in the lounge room. She saw me and went, she's got a bit of coordination, she's got a bit of musicality. Ballet has so many benefits beyond the artistry. I just loved it because it was so expressive. You can be graceful and pretty and a little girl. And I think that was the initial connection. I did have this projection I wanted to go to London to the Royal Opera Ballet there because Robin stopped teaching and I couldn't go to the Ransley School of Dance. I got stuck. I couldn't continue with my ballet career, and that was devastating for me because I was right at the top of finishing my exams to go into solo seal. That kind of fell through, and then a local dance teacher came in, Alison Cottrell, and then we just started dancing there, and she was so fresh and modern at the time, getting me to a point where I then continued more in the contemporary field instead of like the traditional ballet scope.
Because you did a lot of modelling,
Yeah.
a lot of television commercials, Red Rooster, Wheat Bix, Sundowner Sunscreen, Westfield Shopping Centres, Golden Circle, Peter's Natural Ice Cream and the Caltex ad. So you went on Star Search and you were a semi-finalist.
I was, yeah.
Tell us about that experience.
Because I was in a TV show, I did You Asked For It, which was with Channel 9 when I was 10 years old. And then I went into the Hi Hello show when I was 15 and did that for a couple of years with David Dixon and a whole lot of other fantastic people. And so doing that, the next step was Star Search had come up because my family from my father's side is immersed in media and journalism and newspapers and television, and my mother's side was seamstresses and fashion. We got this word of, Star Search auditions, and I went for it and I sang Paula Abdul straight up. I got through to the semi-finals, but because it was so cold in the studio, my throat kind of seized up a bit. So I lost my breath, and that was picked up by Molly Meldrum. But I was doing like the genuine high kick whole.
You were Sing and Dance Alive.
And it was tough.
The Hi Hello show was on Channel 7. The show was supporting Australian music and entertainers, and that actually led you into opportunities where you presented. Was it your own feature show or a segment of that with the well-known puppet Agro?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So Channel 7 in Brisbane.
Yep.
It was a group of 6 singer-dancers and a dance troupe from Sue Harvey Dancers. What it was basically another form of Young Talent Time.
Yeah.
And we were on Channel 7 in Brisbane, and then it started being shown in other parts of Australia as it gained popularity and eyeballs, as they say in TV world. And so that was for 2.5 years, and we toured. We did great things with the Hi Hello show because we would visit hospitals and we'd sing a cappella to kids who were suffering from, really bad diseases and illnesses, and we do charity work and the telethon, and it was very local in Brisbane. And then they brought Agro on because there was a TV show after us that had Agro, and then because ours was getting quite a bit of viewership,
Yeah.
Agro decided to come on. But no, the whole team was brilliant. The producers, yeah.
And so what was it like working with the puppet?
Oh, look, it's good. You can see him, and he's in your peripheral vision, but you're talking to the puppet. But the puppet's so animated and so clever. He's
And is
so
it scripted?
Clever. He wasn't scripted. No.
Okay.
No, it's all
That could have been
off
interesting.
the cuff.
That's
yeah.
amazing that you handled that at such a young age, like still technically a teenager.
Yeah,
you know?
but remember I'd been in that framework of entertainment for so
Yeah.
long. It was kind of second
But
nature.
still.
I ended up with Denny Hines and Vince Del Tito doing a whole tour with those guys.
Yeah.
The world today is very different to what it was with traditional media,
Yeah.
with television. There's more opportunities now, but it's a very, very saturated market. So getting those opportunities like that are a little bit convoluted
Yeah.
to get
Yeah,
there.
sure.
Yeah.
And what about like being a child in an adult world ultimately? How was that? How were you looked after?
Always chaperoned.
Yeah.
So Mum was always there. When I did 42nd Street, I think that was the first time when I was really released into, driving to Sydney
Yeah.
and starting there. But yes, being a child in the industry, it's important to have that governance.
Yeah.
It's important to have that guidance and emotional support.
Absolutely, yeah.
So whenever we went to pre-record any of the songs for the Hi Hello show, it was driving up to the studios, and we're there for 8 hours, and we're driving back to the Gold Coast at 2 a.m. And it was a mother's work to do that. All the mums would sit there and all the kids would go in and we were kids, go in and do our record our vocals or our harmonies, and we'd do an entire show.
Basing on presenting now, you mentioned that you worked on You Asked For It, which was a magazine lifestyle program with Kim Watkins.
Yeah.
You've also featured on Good Morning Australia, The Morning Shift, where you did some advertorial work as well. Vodafone Philips Savvy infomercial, and more TV commercials, The Big Weekend, Prime Television, and presenting and location producer of the program.
So learnt a lot with the TV commercials that I did. I'm naturally quite curious. I'm a people watcher. Being in television and doing these TV shoots and they're big productions. They're like big film, not the beautiful digital cameras. We can shoot a whole thing on an iPhone today. We're talking those big, heavy studio cameras. I enjoy being in front of the camera, but I preferred to be behind it.
Okay.
And I don't know why. I think that's to me, it's the creative aspect, not the image aspect I was drawn to.
Yeah.
And so with the big weekend, the creator of that, or the person who had the company, put it into my hands to do all the scripting, all the sponsorships and the whole thing. I ended up moving from there to Sydney, and I created It's About Time.
Yeah.
And that came out of, it's a magazine lifestyle show again, which covered a number of really clever areas, like what's the nightclub scene or sporting scene look like in each city. But with the big weekend, it was doing so well on television that Channel 7 brought me in, because we were on Regional 7.
Yep.
And Channel 7 in Sydney called me in and said, we want your show. We're just going to give you the airtime, we're going to give you the spot, but we want a cut of your, the ad slot that goes in. So there's negotiating to be done.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
This is a very interesting thing, because apart from creating a concept, which, there's so many amazing creative concepts out there that cover purpose and need in the market. There has to be a deep understanding of business acumen, the nature of the industry, which can be a beast like TV, and then what sits around that industry. So around television, there's ad agencies, there's media spend agents, media placement agencies, and then the key thing is, if a great show is making money, then an executive will go, I want a cut of that pie. And I learnt so much from it, and I've got pitch documents for TV shows now.
You also had a lot to do with, as a singer and vocalist, you were in the Elton John tribute band as a backing vocalist, and then you became a member of the dance band Bass X, which you were signed to Sirius Music and distributed throughout Shock Records, and toured throughout Malaysia, and had hits played on Hot FM and also Triple J.
Yeah, so my singing career, I just, like all children, can sing. Music industry is essentially about finding a talent, bringing them in, because there's two areas. There's your the visual side of it, which is like your music company, and then you've got your publishing. So there's two very strong rivers that publishing make you more money because you own the rights to your song, or you cut a pie, the mechanics of publishing. So an artist will come in and the managing director of the publishing company will say, okay, we want a 70-30 split. And then if the artist has a manager, the manager will go, no way, Jose, I want a 60-40 split, or they go higher so the artist can actually live.
It's a biz.
Yeah, it's a business. And that's what a lot of people don't realise is this cutthroat business. And then they'll sign them once upon a time, like Prince and George Michael, it'd be for 10 years. Now they sign them for one track, see how that does, and then they drip feed them to do an album and so forth. It's harder now. So the music industry, I've met great people in the music industry, and I've also met horrible people in the music industry. It's very important to protect yourself by going, or not feeling particularly confident with that person, politely excuse yourself, or you find a way to sort of go to a competitor. The process was writing songs, presenting it to the managers of Serious Music, and having them get their eyes and ears on it. Because not only do you have to write good songs, you have to be a great team, there has to be a marketable, unique selling point, there has to be profit to be made. Is there a target market for that song? Is it on trend right now? And it goes on and on and on. So it's not just a single thing.
As a performer, you worked at the Warner Brothers Movie World.
Yeah, that was fun.
Tivoli, Brisbane, again, theatre kind of style, cabaret style show. Some great talent has come out of that. And then you stepped into musical theatre and were cast in 42nd Street.
Not the one established in Sydney for a couple of years. We were the touring group, so we went all around Australia and New Zealand.
Wonderful.
And that was incredible. That was
a brilliant
so
show.
Much fun. Oh, it's the biggest cast in Australia. I think there were 52 in the cast, and then you had your juvenile leads and then your leads.
That's a big cast.
Yeah, and it was a great cast, because even the set design, everything was done slightly different in Australia, because I did go to New York. And I watched 42nd Street on Broadway, and I sat there with my jaw open going, Australia is so much better.
Oh, wow.
So much better. I couldn't believe the difference.
Yeah, right.
Even in sets and everything.
And then you were part of the Jupiter's Casino show.
Yes.
Live from the Roosevelt.
Yes. Yeah. That was
again,
great.
Another fabulous show. So then you transitioned into production. You worked for Blank Tape, corporate production.
So I produced corporate video for big multi-retailers in Australia, like Big W. And that was me stepping into my editing career, which I'm still doing today. So it's 20 plus years.
Wow.
Yes. I exposed my age just then.
You worked with Network 10, doing TV, scripting, editing and producing, as you said, for Big W TV. You were assistant producer for The Rock Stedford on Channel 10, as well as the executive producer on It's About Time Prime television.
The Rock Stedford, as you know, is just a fantastic initiative. First and foremost, it's about helping school kids fight the need to smoke and take drugs, it's a purpose production, which I love. And secondly, the artistry of dance and having school kids come together. And I choreographed the Rock Stedford at Miami High for 3 years. So when I ended up working for the Rock Stedford, it was a small production team that basically we travelled around to all of the finalists in Queensland, Melbourne, Sydney, across the nation, and shot that and was part of the marketing team. And that again was just amazing. But the transition from that to It's About Time, I think I just had confidence in myself to create another magazine lifestyle show. And on the strength of working for Network 10 for the Rock Stedford, I could move across and get the prime television contract and time slot.
Yeah, right.
And this is when it was on Regional Prime, which is Regional 7. And then Channel 7 called me in and said we wanted to go up to Metro.
Okay, so currently you're a blogger, fashion writer, stylist and content producer on your own business, Men's Style Power. Tell us the passion behind that business and how you transitioned from the performing arts.
Men's Style Power started in 2008. Basically, I did a binge of watching Sex and the City, and then I had this concept that men were kind of missing the mark when it comes to connecting with women. I have always been a writer. My father's a journalist, my mother's a fashion designer. I ended up at this crossroads where I love fashion and I love writing. So I ended up doing Men's Style Power, but the premise was to write stories educating men about connection, intimacy, and I covered it, I laced it like a detective with fashion and style, so it wasn't intimidating to them. The blog ended up being a publishing site, so I'm one of the only female publishers of men's lifestyle content in Australia. And when it started, Australia hadn't even heard of blogging before. We're like 5 years behind the US and the UK, so my first audience was New York Fashion Week and Barney's New York, writing for them, and also a lot of digital media in the UK. So all the traffic was coming in from those areas, from France, from Canada, from the US, UK and throughout Europe. It was an amazing time.
And what's your main, you said that you kind of come from, your family heritage is writing and obviously even style and fashion. So what drove you? What was the niche for you?
At the time in 2008, especially with Australian men, they wouldn't be seen in a pink shirt. It's very different to Europe, it's very different to other parts of the world. And so when I started it, if men wanted any style advice, they'd have to go to GQ magazine or Men's Style. And a lot of men wouldn't be caught dead with these magazines under their arm because one, they don't ever want to be known as researching for their look, right? But it had to have a purpose. So Men's Style Power had to have a purpose, and that was having the fashion over the top and really understanding fashion, not just editorial, but drapes and tailoring and archetype styling. Which
even
is,
the etiquette behind it, right?
Yeah, I mean, fashion itself goes way back to hierarchy. So if you think of, for example, the Roman army, we're talking centuries back, and even if you look at ancient China, there's a hierarchy of shapes, cuts, fabrics, and what you wore, quite frankly. The ornamentation for men in particular was really strong. And, we've lost all of that because we've moved into this fast fashion area where everything's so disposable that people get the thrill of changing their clothes a lot, but not retaining or understanding their own personal style. So that's what I teach about on the website. There's pressures of work, there's pressures of them keeping themselves well and fit, and then the emotional bonding to the family unit is quite difficult to them because no one's taught social and emotional intelligence at school. No one's taught how to style to their own identity or their archetype. Them understanding who they are, how they sit, how they move, what they do on the weekend, what their occupation is, what their name means.
Yeah.
They start to get this mental picture. But when men understand who they are, the empowerment they get, because it's almost like they don't have to fight for the space that they stand in. Identity is a very, very big part. It's brand expression. That's what I put it. I want people to understand that you can look $1 million and I've styled you from a thrift store.
You were commissioned to write for CEO magazine, which reached 250,000 gentlemen, and also with fashionbeans.com, which attracts 4.5 billion views a month.
Maybe I write differently. I write about men's fashion and style from a female perspective. Writing for those magazines was a real, thrill for me because it affirmed what I was doing had good output. And with Men's Style Power, I hid in the background for a long, long time. I didn't want to be. I wrote under an alias called Stig of Style. And the reason why is because I thought, men would hate it if they knew that a woman was writing fashion knowledge for them.
You've provided content for brands exclusive, Sydney Morning Herald's exclusive style, and Ask Men as well. So what are the basics, like to-do list to a degree, of opening up the opportunities to get into that line of work?
I really believe that there's a time when someone's naturally starting to feel a bit stale, that they need to regroup and assess what they're doing, but assess in a courageous and achievement-focused way.
Yeah.
Instead of going, oh, I'm not good enough, I've missed that audition, or I missed that, and so got that again, and they're always ahead of me, or they're always just slightly better than me. I think it comes down to my achievements are, my victories are, this, and this. We have to look at the strengths, that's the first thing. Once they see their strengths and go, you know what, this was a real win for me.
Yeah.
Start interrogating that market.
Yeah.
And the best way for them to break into, let's say the content creation field, which is essentially what I do now, is it has to be a mix of traditional media and social media. Because the conversation I was having today was that algorithms that sit behind your website, behind your social media, change so drastically that you have to lean back on that traditional PR dissemination, calling up PR firms and networks and publishers and go, this is what I'm doing, will you interview me, can I be part of an editorial that you're doing? Yeah, Margaret Zhang, who's one of our famous influencers in Australia, said, don't post your breakfast. Like, post what
relative
you do.
Relative to your
post what you do
goal.
And the viral element of the social impact is important, but it has to marry with that hard work around the traditional promotion, and then that marries up beautifully and you find that you get traction.
So getting back to your video content creator, you've worked for Marie Claire in Style magazine.
BMW ambassador, Mini Cooper ambassador, a whole lot more. So 14 years in Men's Style Power is about working and partnering with other brands and bringing them to life. There's a contract exchange.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to deliver this at this time and make it look like this.
Yeah.
And then I'll push back and I'll go, I want my artistry here, and this is how my audience wants to see it, and then we come to an agreement and then we make it happen. And so that's how the ambassadorship and the exchange happens in content creation when you're a publisher or an influencer.
Okay.
Influencers have management teams now. It's a whole business. It's like blown up. It's incredible. And then a publisher like myself, I sit in the same landscape as other digital publishers, which is a different vibe. I don't class myself as an influencer whatsoever. If I do, it's from the back seat.
We have a little special segment at the end of our Arts Talk TV. It's called the Shutter Speed Challenge.
Oh my God.
All right,
I'm nervous now.
No, it's fun.
I'm there.
What was the last song that you listened to?
BTS, Idol.
What is your favourite thing about creativity?
Just authentic expression.
Perfect. What person would you most like to meet?
Keanu Reeves.
Okay, what would you ask him?
Can I be a pillion on your motorcycle, please?
There you go.
Yeah.
Or can you be in my campaign or something like that, right? Yeah. What was the last piece of art that really affected you?
Michael Zavros does almost like horse images that are 3 meters wide, 5 meters high of beautiful horses. Like, he's phenomenal, he's great.
Okay, if you had to label creativity with a colour, what colour would you choose?
Oh my gosh, iridescent white.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what would you miss most about the arts?
Actually, I don't want to miss the arts. I want it to continue to flourish and grow and expand. And artistry is like visual artistry. It could just be like a vase sitting on a table, but you've shot it in a certain way. I mean, cryptocurrency is now investing in digital art, and there's some phenomenal people out there who are creating digital, like 3D images that are of like walking through a forest, but all of a sudden beams of light would shoot out of the earth.
Wow.
So art expansion, I don't think it will ever miss it because it's always evolving in some way.
What would you miss about it though?
Oh, I wouldn't stop being a part of it though.
Okay,
I'd miss it when I'm 6 feet under, I think. It's
Gotcha.
the only time I would miss it.
Okay, what's on your bedside table?
Oh, my phone, a lamp, jewelry, wedding photos.
Beautiful. What chore do you most dislike doing?
House cleaning!
Yes. In one word, what does the arts mean to you?
Life.
perfect. Louise, thank you so much for being on our show. The vastity of experience to celebrate and help with our viewers, and yeah, to share this experience with you has been delightful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you've enjoyed the episode. We'll look forward to catching you next time.